So we'll continue, my friends, with chapter 18, and we're on to part 72 now in our study. Now there's a message addressed directly to the city of Rome. So it's this is the message. Never again in New Babylon will be heard the song of harpists and the minstrels, the music of flute and trumpet. Never again will craftsmen of every skill be found, or the sound of the mill to be heard. Never again will shine the light of the lamp. Never again will be heard the voices of bridegroom and bride. All the nations were under your spell. Points to note, this message is addressed to the whole city of Rome. That includes the Vatican, of course, and all the Catholic churches in Rome. No city in the world, like we said earlier, is so closely associated with one church and with one religious leader as the city of Rome is associated with the Catholic Church and with the Pope. Some parts of this message refer to both church and state, to the Catholic Church and to the city of Rome. Never again in New Babylon will be heard the song of harpists and minstrels, the music of the flute and the trumpet. All music and song will cease completely. This will apply both to church and city. Never again will craftsmen of every skill be found. No architect, sculptor, painter, bricklayer, electrician, plumber. This applies to both church and city. No more will the sound of the mill be heard. This applies especially to the city. A very common type of mill is for grinding wheat, barley and oats. Much of our bread is made from wheat, and all business activity will come to stop in the city of Rome. Never again will shine the light of the lamp. This applies to both church and city. No more electric light in the churches and in the streets or in the shops. Never again will be heard the voices of the bridegroom and the bride. This applies especially to the church. The voices of bridegroom and bride are heard in weddings when they make their marriage vows. There will be no more church weddings in the city of the Seven Hills. All the nations were under your spell. This refers especially to the Catholic Church. It has such a huge influence that it has a spell over all countries, a religious spell and a political spell, but of course especially a religious spell. So we may think that this is an exaggeration, that for instance, what sort of spell has it over the Muslim countries? Even there, it seems that there's a certain Catholic influence, and the figure of the Pope, even in those countries, has an influence that maybe we wouldn't expect, and sometimes a greater influence than we can imagine. The world's reaction to the fall of the city of Rome. Now, this of course will be one of the most momentous events of our history. The Seven Hills city of Rome will disappear. What will be the world's reaction? And of course it will be seen live on television. So needless to say, the reaction of the world will be something that possibly the world has never seen anything like it. The reaction of the four groups, there are four groups described, all giving their reaction. They are the world leaders, merchants, seafarers, and the saints. Their reaction is given before the fall of the city, and again the end result is given first, followed by the events which would lead to that end result. And this is a common practice, of course, in the book of Revelation. The reaction of the world leaders. There will be mourning and weeping for her by the kings of the earth who have fornicated with her and lived with her in luxury. They see the smoke as she burns, while they keep a safe distance for fear of her agony. They will say, mourn, 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 for this great city Babylon, so powerful a city, doomed as you are within a single hour. points to north. They see the smoke as she burns. They will see it live on television. It will be little smoke from a little fire. This is not merely symbolic. The language is too detailed and too graphic just to describe a mere symbolic punishment of Rome, in the sense that it would lose all its influence in the world and lose all its significance as a religious city. It will be something far more than this. They keep a safe distance for fear of her agony. They will go nowhere near Rome in case there should be more destruction in the area around the city. No more visits to the Vatican by queens, kings, presidents or prime ministers. They will mourn over her, mourn for this great city, doomed as you are within a single hour. Many governments will issue messages of condolences. So too, in all probability, will the United Nations. Now the next group to react will be the merchants. They will be weeping in distress over her among all the traders of the earth, when there is no one left to buy their cargoes of goods. The traders who had made a fortune out of her will be standing at a safe distance for fear of her agony. They will be saying, all the fruits you had set your heart on have failed you, gone forever, never to return is your life of magnificence and ease. Mourn, mourn, mourn for this great city, for all the linen and purple and scarlet that you wore, for all your finery of gold and jewels and pearls. Your riches are all destroyed within a single hour. Points to north. This will be how the business community will react to the fall of the city of Rome. They will be weeping among all the traders of the earth. That is, all the traders who will be doing business with the Catholic Church. When that time comes, the statement by the traders applies much more to the church than to the city. Just like the politicians, the traders will see the fall live on television. No one left to buy your cargoes of goods. So that this applies to both city and church. The suppliers who will be supplying the food and drink to the hotels, restaurants, cafes and shops in Rome will lose that custom overnight. And so too will the suppliers of televisions, radios, mobile phones, cars, lorries and motorbikes. All trade with the city of Rome will come to a sudden end, and that must be a considerable trade. The traders mention all the linen and scarlet that you wore, for all your finery of gold and jewels and pearls. This applies especially to the Catholic Church. Linen, purple, scarlet refers to the robes which the clergy wear. Gold, jewels and pearls are used in the making of chalices, ciboriums, montresses, thuribles and crucifixes. And the first four are used either at Mass or benediction. The Catholic Church will continue to exist after the fall of the city of Rome, and the Pope will survive the fall. And the Pope sees serious trouble developing around the city of the Seven Hills. He is sure to leave the Vatican, and he will probably go to his palace in the town of Castel Gandolfo, which is about 15 miles, 25 kilometers from Rome. The popes own the Palazzo Apostolico there, and the Pope appears in the next chapter, chapter 19, so the Pope very much survives the fall of the city. There is nobody left to buy their cargoes of goods. This will be said by the traders who at that point will be doing business with the Catholic Church. The Church will still exist in all other countries apart from Italy after the fall of the city of Rome. In theory, therefore, the traders should be able to continue to sell their goods. to the church. In practice, however, the fall of the city of Rome may strike such a devastating blow to the whole Catholic Church that the writing may be on the wall for the church's traders everywhere. The same could be the case with all who will have contracts with the church: painters, decorators, sculptors, builders, musicians, singers. The traders will be standing at a safe distance for fear of her agony. Like the politicians, the traders will keep well away from the area of Rome. Needless to say, they'll be glued to their televisions. Reaction of the seafarers. This is the third group then to react. All the captains and seafarers, seafaring men or seafarers, let's go, the same thing, sailors and all those who make a living from the sea will be keeping a safe distance. They will be watching the smoke as she burns and crying out, "Has there been a city as great as this?" They will throw dust in their heads and say with tears and groans, "Mourn, mourn, mourn for this great city, whose lavish living has made a fortune for every owner of a sea-going ship, ruined within a single hour." Points to note, they will throw dust on their heads. Tyre and Sidon were the two principal cities of the Phoenicians, who were a great seafaring and trading people 3,000 years ago. These two cities were in Lebanon. The prophet Ezekiel foretold the downfall of Tyre and the whole Phoenician trading empire. He foretold that the seafarers would mourn the fall of Tyre. They will cry bitterly and throw dust on their heads with bitterness of heart and bitter wailing. Now, casting dust on their heads stands for extreme bitterness and sorrow. Only the seafarers cast dust on their heads after the fall of Rome. The world leaders and the merchants do not. Why are the seafarers moved to such extreme emotion at the fall of Rome? It can only be that they will suffer extreme personal loss. Here, my friends, we're introduced not merely to the sailors who will be sailing in the oceans like the Pacific and the Atlantic and the Mediterranean Sea, and anxious to get to port because they want to deliver their cargo. There's no way that the ordinary sailors would react like this. It's something more than mere sailors. It's safe to say that whatever ships are sailing in the high seas at that time, probably a very big number of them would be atheists anyway, and they probably wouldn't give tuppence about the fall of the city of Rome itself. So it's not mere traders. There's something more being spoken of here than mere trade.